G'day. I used to hear people say over the years, you gotta get to know yourself. Know yourself, know thyself. And I always sort of felt the resonance of truth to that. I could sort of sense that was what was required, was to really know yourself. And I didn't realise at the time, but I never realised what that actually meant. And so for a long time, I never really explored beyond a certain point in relation to what that meant about me and coming to know more of myself. Because I thought on reflection that I had a fairly good idea of, who I was. And it wasn't until some years later that I came to discover more about what that actually means and how to go about coming to know the truth about who I am. And it's been really impactful in my life, because we've got this, what I've come to learn, what I've been shown, is that we have this aspect to us known as the ego. And the ego, we all hear about the ego in various different ways and in relation to various different things. Usually our understanding of the concept of the ego is that it's like a kind of us being selfish. We're being self-centered or whatever, egoic, full of ourselves or whatever. But the ego actually forms it plays an important role in our lives. And it's an aspect of us that, when we're born, is responsible for a few key things. And one of those things is that we need to survive. And so one of the ego's jobs is to find out how it is here. We're very vulnerable when we're born as children. And we are completely reliant on the love and nurture of our parents primarily, and others in our lives as well, until we become more independent. So the ego sets about looking at the experiences that we're having and defining those experiences, giving us our orientation in life about how we are, how others are, how the world is, so that we can, as quickly as possible, sort of catalogue everything and come to know how we need to be in the world to be safe, to survive. And it's a really important part of our experience of life, is that we get started, that we have an orientation in the world so that we can get on with it and go from there. The other thing about the ego is that it's responsible for providing us with an illusion of separation, so that we can feel like we're individual, so that we can have this individual experience of life. And so that's super important too. Without that, not much would go on, because we're more connected than we realise we are with everything. And so the vehicle, I should say, the ego is our vehicle, and it gets referred to at times as the egoic vehicle. It's quite accurate. And it comprises of our physical, our emotional, our mental, even our energetic bodies, all of us. That's the ego. But what happens is we come to, without any sort of rites of passage process where we can see the egoic aspect of ourselves as the vehicle and use it as such, we just by default come to identify with that aspect of ourselves. And we see ourselves, we experience our thoughts and feelings, our emotions, and we think, well, that's who I am, I'm made up of these things and this physical body and my strengths and weaknesses, and that's kind of my identity, and we identify with the egoic vehicle. But the truth is, we're not that. It's just the vehicle. And what we can do when we're looking to create something more expansive in life than what we've known before is to come to know the truth of who we are. And we're actually pure creative spirit, connected to everything through all time and space. And that's how we rock up here until we individuate, until we have that experience of creating an illusion of separation for ourselves. And I used to think that, you know, I was just this kind of powerless person in the world with nothing really to contribute, and so therefore nothing to contribute in connecting with others. So I used to think that that's just me, you know, like I don't really get into connecting with other people. I rather sort of stay pretty solo and go it alone. And because I can't contribute in conversation anyway, and beyond that in the world, there's nothing in me for that. And so what I've discovered though, in more recent years, is that when I came to know what it was that was true for me and started to create that, then I started to discover more about the truth of who I am. Because the other thing is, we all have a unique essence that seeks expression through us and seeks to have experiences through us. And along with that, we have unique gifts and talents that lend themselves to us creating and having those experiences. And so when I learnt that and applied that and got on with that in my life, a beautiful side effect of doing that was I've created, you know, some beautiful things and had some incredible experiences and continue to. But I think probably along with those creations, the most important thing about the whole thing was I came to know more about the truth of who I am, and I continue to even find out more and more and more. So, and I can see, as I do that, I can see just how important that is, because of how I used to think about myself, and it was I was missing the point, you know, it's such a misconception about who I was. And the problem with that was that my life was reflective of my assumptions about myself, the way I believed I was and how I believed I wasn't enough. And life really sort of looked that way, you know, that it looked like that was true because of the experiences that I was having. But the truth is, I was actually creating those experiences because of my misunderstanding about the truth of who I am. And so what I discovered was that I have, you know, natural gifts and talents that lend themselves to the fact that I love to teach and empower others in their lives. And who knew? and I have this aspect to me that loves to creatively express itself. So through all sorts of artful forms, you know, whether it's painting, it's music, performance. You know, here I was before thinking, I'm kind of a loner, you know, I don't really do the crowd thing or connecting with others thing. And it couldn't have been further from the truth. And so the more that, once I discovered that, the more that I started to live in that way that was actually true for me, it was deeply enriching to my life. And it gave me the opportunity to be of service to others and to contribute in the world, and therefore feel like my life is rich and meaningful, you know, real purpose to everything. And so, you know, what are those things that you really love to do, that you know you love to do? And where have you observed your unique gifts and talents in life that we all have, but we usually observe ourselves using them in certain ways and feeling like, yeah, well, that just comes easy to me. and it's like that for everybody, but it's not. And it's where you've used your natural gifts and talents, maybe in a job or, working with other people or creating something just for the sake of it. And it just came together and it was really amazing, and very natural for you. So it felt like it wasn't forced. It felt like you're in your flow. Maybe it was in sport. Maybe you're rock climbing or traveling or whatever it was, but you noticed that certain things, when you do those things, it's just kind of, I love them and they're kind of not hard for me. It's not forceful. So what are those things for you? It'd be great to hear from you in the comments just about what sorts of things, light you up, and what sorts of gifts and talents have you noticed in your life that you could apply to other things that maybe you've been denying yourself without knowing it. So have an amazing Christmas time with friends and family. I hope it's really connective and just, lots of love. And I'll look forward to seeing you in the new year for an amazing 2023.